Announcing the commencement of the first purge.
I want you to change the world, and don't think that this is going to happen peacefully or you can do it alone. We need to kill the rich. You get out there, you use your weapons, and you rip Washington apart. You hunt down the billionaires, the bank bosses, the CEOs, the scumbags and the liars, the governors, the lobbyists, the senators, because they're all the same, and you hang them.
Just remember all the good the purge does.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's May 14th, 2018. I like to be enlightened as much as possible, and I also like to share my enlightenment. So I had somebody just slightly bust my balls about not being able to find something I was talking about, and it's totally because I didn't write the right thing. I'm going to cover some of this right now about your birth certificates. There's a lot of questions about your birth certificate and what its purpose is, and it's not only for recording your birth and getting you a driver's license and all that. It has a much deeper use to it. Excuse me. So I'm here at criminalgovernment.com. God dang, that's hot. Okay, so bear with me here. I don't know what the fuck just happened, but I'm still going. The information below explains how a fictitious alter ego of the real you exists. The fictionist version of you has been created in an effort to justify acts that would be unlawful if applied to you, the real you. Government documents show the United States went bankrupt in 1933. Operating government on credit requires enormous collateral. Government itself produces no wealth. Flesh and blood people do. Your straw man's life and property have been pledged as collateral for government. The birth certificate. Thank you. Since the early 1960s, state governments themselves, legal fictions as indicated by full caps, have issued birth certificates to persons using all cap names. This is not a lawful record of your birth, but a legal fiction indicated by the use of all caps. It may look as if it's your proper name, but that's impossible since no proper name is ever written in all caps. And you don't sign your name in all caps, and when you print your name, you don't use all caps. It's unnatural. As you will see, the birth certificate is the government's created legal instrument for its legal title of ownership or deed to the personal legal fiction they have created. One factor to recognize before going any further is the government use of older data storage from the late 1950s until the early 1980s. As a leftover from various teletype-oriented systems, many government data storage methods used all caps for proper names. At first, this may have been a necessity of the technology at the time, not a deliberate act. Perhaps when this technology was first being used and implemented into the mainstream of communications, some legal experts saw it as a perfect tool for their legal fictions. What better excuse could there be? However, since local, state, and federal offices primarily used typewriters during that time period, the birth certificates and other important documents, such as a driver's license, were produced with typewriters. It's very doubtful that this process or this poses much of an excuse to explain all caps usage for proper names. The only reasonable usage of the older data bank all caps storage systems would have been for addressing envelopes or certain forms in bulk, including payment checks, which the government did frequently. Automated computer systems with daisy wheel and pen printers used prevalently in the early 1980s emulated the IBM electric typewriter Courier or the Helvetica or Vitica fonts in both upper and lowercase letters. Shortly thereafter, the introduction of laser and inkjet printers with multiple fonts became the standard. For the past 20 years, the only rational excuse for the government to use all caps is if the older data is still stored in its original form and has not been translated due to cost of re-entry, but this does not excuse the entry of new data, only legacy data. In fact, on many governmental forms today, proper names are in all caps, while other areas of the same computer-produced document are in both upper and lowercase. One can only conclude that the use of all caps when printing a proper name is intentional. Birth certificates or birth information is collected by the state and turned over to the United States Department of Commerce. Why would your birth certificate need to be turned over to the Department of Commerce? The all caps fictitious corporate entity is then placed into a trust known as a Cestui Que trust. A Cestui Que trust is defined as, quote, he who has a right to a beneficial interest in and out of an estate, the legal title to which is vested in another. The beneficiary of another Cestui Que use is he for whose use and benefit lands or tenements are held by another. The Cestui Que user has a right to receive the profit and benefits of the estate, but the legal title and possession, as well the duty of defending the name, resides in the other. Okay, and that's a lot of legal jargon, right? I'm going to go back over it real quick. Okay, you know what a trust is, I'm sure. I don't know what Cestui Que means. I don't speak Latin, but he who has a right to a beneficial interest in and out of an estate, the legal title to which is vested in another. Your legal title is vested in another. And then of course right here, damn it, right here when he talks about he whose use and benefit lands or tenements are held by another. That's you. Anybody who thinks they own a house, car, or even themselves. You don't own yourself, the government owns you. You are collateral. And that's probably why in most states it's illegal to commit suicide. Because you're killing somebody else's property. Okay. Each one of us, including your children, my children, every child you know, are considered assets of the bankrupt United States, which acts as the debtor in possession. And that should help clarify the above paragraph. We are designated by this government as human resources or human capital. You may have noticed that all personnel offices have been converted to human resource offices. The government assumes the role of the trustee while the newborn child becomes the beneficiary of his own trust. Absent the fraud involved, legal title to everything the child will ever own is vested in the government. The government then places the trust into the hands of the parents, who are made the guardians. The child may reside in the hands of the guardians until such time as the state claims that the parents are no longer capable to serve. The state then goes into the home and removes the trust, the child, from the guardians. At the age of majority, the parents lose guardianship, and that's at the age of 18. Christian births used to be recorded in the family Bible only. The reason for instituting the birth certificate is so the state can claim title to your person. It is a common law principle that says what one creates, one may control via your state-issued birth certificate. In the name of your all-caps person, you are considered to be a slave or indentured servant to the various federal, state, and local governments. This legal maneuver is compounded further when one obtains a driver's license, marriage license, or a social security number. You have no rights in state-approved birth, marriage, or even death. The state claims the sovereign right to all legal fiction titles it creates. And it doesn't end there. Fucking cottonmouth. It's 91 degrees here today. Like I told you all. Shit, I sound like a southerner now. It jumps from winter to summer. There's no in between. It's either winter or summer. So, it's hot as fuck. Alright, the debtors of the United States were getting nervous by the mid-1960s. President Nixon had to collateralize more debt. He settled upon a plan to quietly set aside huge tracts of American land with their mineral rights in reserve to cover the outstanding debts. But the American people were already angered over the Vietnam War. Nixon couldn't very well admit that he was parceling out huge chunks of the United States to holders of U.S. debt. And these are foreign holders, by the way. So he invented the Environmental Protection Agency in 1970 and passed draconian environmental laws which served to grab land with vast drilling, mining, and or otherwise developing those resources. Oh, wait. I totally skipped the whole sentence there. Okay, I'm going to have to start that one over. The Environmental Protection Agency was created in 1970, and they passed a whole bunch of draconian environmental laws which served to grab land with vast natural resources away from the owners and lock it away, proving to the holders of the debt that Americans are not drilling, mining, or otherwise developing those resources. As the government sinks deeper into debt, it grabs more and more land, declares it to be a wilderness, heritage river, or wetland area. There are various other designations, but the end result is the same. The people may not use the land. And that's probably why they want everyone out of California, and the entire West Coast, really. Let me see here. Where did I leave off? Oh, yeah. In many cases, they are forbidden to set foot on it. This is not about conservation. It is about establishing credit, or collateral, rather. Your land is being stolen by the government and used to secure loans the government really had no business taking out in the first place. Given that the government cannot get out of debt, and it is collateralizing more and more land to avoid foreclosures, the day is not far off when the people of the United States will be told that they are no longer private citizens with private property rights. They are mere tenants living on someone else's property. This day will arise swiftly if we don't do something about it. And if you give up the firearms, we're all fucked. See Executive Order 13037 for a reference made to this doctrine. I will leave a link in the description box. I will do, the next one I will do is the USA is bankrupt, and there's a lot more to go over here. So, until next time, kill the state before it fucking enslaves you to China or something.